Hold on just a second, Claire. And you are good to go.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. I'd like to call the meeting to order, the Regional Wastewater Advisory Committee for January 22nd. And we'll start with a roll call.
Good morning. Alejandra Frejo Arque. Alejandra? I cannot hear you, but I see that you are here.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Anne-Marie Wolf,
Here.
Asia Philbin. Here. Claire Zucker.
Here.
Craig Canizaro. Eric Sulwald.
Yes.
Kirsten Wangsvik. Matt Mathewson.
Here.
Rebecca Perez. Patlo Shipek. Scott Oldendorf. And Steve Foley.
Here.
Great. All right, we will continue with the virtual meeting reminders. Please mute your microphones. This will help ensure there's no feedback or background noises that may interfere with the speaker. If a committee member would like to speak and ask a question, raise your hand, but remember to lower it after your question. When you're ready to speak, don't forget to unmute your microphone, especially important during votes, and do not forget to mute your microphone when you're finished. And as a reminder, audience members are only permitted to speak during the call to the audience unless called upon by the committee. This meeting is being recorded to satisfy the open meeting law requirements. Great. We'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moving on with the call to the audience. Do we have any audience members that would like to make a statement? Don't just kill yourselves getting to the podium. All right, moving on. We have a safety share. Any safety shares from people?
Well, one of the popular ones is driving. The Gym and Mineral show is getting ready to get started. Rodeo comes in next month. U of A's back in session, and just if you've spent any time around downtown or around the University of Arizona, it's pretty hectic and crazy, and it will only get worse with the snowbirds and all those activities. So please use extra caution, give yourself extra time, don't be in a hurry, and don't get in front of me. That's all I have to say.
Any other safety shares that people have today? All right, we'll move on. Thank you. Thanks, Jackson. We have the approval of the minutes. Did everybody have a chance to look at the minutes? As usual. Good job. Anybody have any comments? Do I have a motion to approve?
I move we approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, Steve. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the minutes passed as approved. Excellent. And moving right on down the line to the director's update, state of the utility.
All right, so everybody get comfortable and put on your safety belt. No, first, Catlo, is this your first meeting now?
It is.
Why don't you introduce yourself? I probably have a bio I should read, but he's just a good guy. That's all I can tell you. So why don't you tell everybody about yourself?
I was trying to remember the first time I met you or attended one of these meetings. I think it was like 15 years ago.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
A lot of
It's just the gray that you got to get over, that's all.
Right.
Anne Marie was on the committee at the time. Yeah, Catlo Shipek, honored to join this committee. I've long looked at this committee as looking up to and taking advice from. It was presented once, and it was on composting toilets, and Jackson was concerned that we would take over the business. Sadly, that has not been so. So here I am today. I think, I've served on CWAC for 8 years along with Jacqueline. And it's fun to be here. So looking to learn from all of you and see the supply side of the treated effluent spectrum versus the demand side.
So welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Okay, well, I kind of just figured, what am I going to talk about today? So 5 minutes ago, I decided here's what I'll talk about. I always like reviewing the summary of our 6 pillars of focus in our utility or in our business, however you want to look at it. And they drive pretty much everything we do. And so starting with, I guess they're all equally important, but some may be a little more so than others, but I'll just kind of run through each one. And the first one, the human resource side or the people side of our business, that's what it takes to run this utility or any utility is people. We could have tremendous infrastructure and resources, but if you don't have people and good people and talented and capable people, forget it. The battle's lost already. So we're very fortunate. We have a budget of, it says on paper, 401 employees, but it's really 399 full-time equivalents because we did have a full-time identified hours, 2080 hours in a year for an engineering intern. We used to hire part-time engineering students from the U of A, and they all collectively could work, however many we hired could work 2080 hours total because they were all part-time, because of school. But with the change to the Workday software and stuff, they no longer let us multi-fill a PCN or the number associated with an employee. So we currently have 3 engineering interns that collectively work 1 full-time equivalent. So there's an extra 2 people from 399, it's 401, but it really is 399 full-time equivalents. But we have a couple of extra engineering interns that had to have their own PCN number. So for what that's worth, it's always amazing to me, just personally from my different careers and places I've worked, that for approximately 400 employees, that we fill more than 100 positions a year. Every year we fill 100 openings. Typically, just ballpark, it's not exact and it varies year to year a little bit, but about half of them are promotions and half of them are new people coming from outside. And when I say outside, that's outside the department. So they could have came from somewhere else in the county or somewhere outside of Pima County. And so to me, that's a lot of people. And I always prided myself to try and remember as many names as I could. But I told my wife last night, she's like, why do you always call me honey? I said, dear honey, I forgot your name a long time ago. So I'm sorry. I shouldn't stray from what I'm supposed to be talking about. But it's always nice to know your employees, but it is so challenging. Sometimes you go somewhere new and I don't even recognize some of these people, and how often do you stay in that loop? But at at least 50 of those 100 are very close to it are new people. And so, not just for me, but for the executive team or senior managers, just realizing that change. And I just think, our business, our utility is fairly dynamic. There's all kinds of things that happen every day that you have to respond to or react to or make decisions for. And now you got different people involved in those processes. And to me, it's just like juggling too many chainsaws on a hot tin roof in the summer or something. It's very challenging, but it's an enjoyable part of our business. And we're fortunate that we do have so many wonderful people that, care about their community and care about running a reputable utility. So that makes the job a lot easier. The second pillar, that in no particular order, is our environmental responsibility or environmental stewardship. We are very regulated. We have many, many permits, of course, Arizona Department of Environmental Quality being a big part of it, but there's others too. And the environmental criteria, the things that we're doing out there are to support and make sure we're producing water that's of the right quality. We're doing all the things per code and specifications and requirements. And so we spend a lot of time, and I think about, every morning I get on the phone calls where we're starting our day with the various crafts and trades that are out working with operations to do the jobs that are happening and making sure everybody is aligned on priorities. The wonderful conversation to hear every day. But it's just amazing, and you look at, oh, we're fixing this piece of equipment, or this is a problem we're going to go look into and diagnose, and they're all because these facilities have to run at a very high level, nonstop, 24/7, 365. So it's quite impressive to see people coming together and coordinating those steps. And we're very fortunate to have, good leadership throughout our organization that people care and have those conversations. So I just want to bring that in, and the way we do our business, not just about meeting permits and, of course, that's a requirement, and we always seem to exceed our permits and do a very good job all in all. But it's also a culture we have to develop, because integrity is a key part of it. You don't want people just, hey, nobody knows what I'm doing here, and we weed those people out very quick if you come across them. And it's a very high level of integrity in our culture environmentally. So that's another one. Sustainability, it just became a good buzzword some time back. So we like using that. And we're in a position with this utility to make renewable water, which soon we'll be drinking one day. But it has many values in the community, and we're taking stuff that used to be wastewater. How do we get rid of all that stuff? But now it's like, hey, we want into this action. It's given us great water for the many purposes and benefits that people will fight over for a long time to come. We have biosolids that are a necessary part of our utility that, for the most part, in our business, we've been using in the agriculture field for beneficial use in the fields and in the farms and ag business. We also, more recently, have moved into the gas, another byproduct of our effort. And that biogas that we've been cleaning and selling has been generating like an additional $5 million a year in income, which is in revenue, which is phenomenal and helps the ratepayers. It's paid for itself already in very short order. Just a quick update. I don't mean to deviate from the pillars, but the gas, we did have, some challenges. It's a new part of our business, and, we all want to make sure we do everything right and careful and don't get anybody hurt, for heaven's sake. That's the main goal of ours. But the gas plant, as we, learn with time, little nuances and idiosyncrasies of our infrastructure in that facility, we found that there's some things that needed improvement. So we've had a lot of experts also join our own team and go through and upgrade and add things that needed to be added or modified. And we've been running that facility now. It's back online, but we've only been running it for day shift initially because we just wanted to make sure everything, after all the downtime and a rehab and the work, we want to make sure there's no issues. But also we want to go back through and retrain our people. Again, you have a lot of new people, and the changes you made or the time since we were last running it before we restarted it, we just want to refresh everybody. So that effort's going on right now. And then, excuse me. And finally, on the gas too, we just have to fight our things outside of our control. And one of the things that also has impacted us here with this startup is, while we were down, Kinder Morgan and Southwest Gas and their exchange of gas distribution and, the routes and places they go, they did some of their own work while we were offline doing our business. And so when somebody's looking at their operating conditions and pressures and volumes and stuff, we weren't in that mix. So they went and did some things, and then we came back online, and all of a sudden they have set pressures too high for us to inject our gas at all times. The pressure changes with demand and supply and all that, but nonetheless, they put some orifices in their system, and we can't push that hard. So they had to go back and, oh, sorry, we forgot about you guys. So they fixed it to where we can inject in that again. And so I don't know, Jeff, what are we? Maybe a few weeks from going 24/7 again on the operation? All right. So it's nice to have all those sustainable things, but it's also back to culture. This organization has developed not just the sustainable culture, but there's a lot of other activities and perspectives that we have to be aware of to get everybody thinking about it. It's nice that we have these nice gifts that we can make 3 wonderful renewable products and beneficially use them. But little things like recycling or, hey, shutting off the lights when you leave the room, or many of the other things that we're looking at for riparian habitat and open spaces and stuff are all things that fit our culture and align with the Board of Supervisors. And, we take pride in that too. So that's why it's a pillar. Customer service is a 4th pillar. And that also is a culture, and it's in everything we do. And of course, I've learned over the almost 22 years that I've been here that people don't typically want to call you and talk about wastewater or sewer and thank you. It's fine with me that it's a topic we don't want to hear about, because we don't want to be, because if you do hear about it, it's usually bad news. Somebody smells odors, or somebody doesn't like their rates that they're paying, or somebody thinks we're unsightly, or we spilled something. So we're pretty pleased with our record and our performance, but we are surprised at how many positive responses we get in the customer service side. Hey, your guys came out so quickly and looked into this issue that we called about. And so we like that reputation. We're happy that we're able to do that. And we have people that care and go respond and deal with the public and all of our customers, but especially the public, in a positive way. The 5th pillar, just hitting on, is the safety pillar. And that one's always been near and dear to my heart. To me, our safety culture and safety pillar is way up there in priority. They're all important, but it's super important because when you think about it as managers and leaders of an organization or utility, I don't have this, or none of us in the leadership role have this magic bag of tricks to motivate and let people know that we care. But safety, to me, is one of the best and strongest ways we can show our employees that we care about them, which is a motivation that, hey, people are looking out for us, and as opposed to we don't really care or give a damn, or you're just a number. So it's nice that our safety performance has continued to improve. Our goal is to have 0 recordable injuries, forever. We don't want people to get hurt, and we take that serious, and we've made tremendous improvements over the year. And I think culturally, every time I join any meeting, safety is always a focused conversation, and I'm glad to be a part of that as a culture. So that one will always be in there. And then last but not least, pillar number 6 is the financial pillar, which just so happens to be one of the key focuses of this committee. But, we have established a culture and organization where, there's old adages or stereotypes that government, oh, you guys just spend whatever you want, thinking you have endless money and you're not accountable and stuff. And, we would beg to differ and believe we have a very excellent culture that people treat the money we have like it's their own. And that's the main thing you can do is don't just spend everybody's money like you can get all you want. It's, would you do that if it was your money, type of thing. And we like to run this organization more as a business than, just a typical stereotypical government entity. And, I don't think the county in general is that way, but especially here in wastewater, we take a lot of effort and in our financial side, and having a committee such as you all involved and aware of our business is just one of those indications that that's something we look at. And of course, the board is a key part of that, because they appoint 10 of the 13 members on this committee. But we will stand up anytime and be proud of how we've made the achievements that we've made. So those 6 pillars are my refreshing topics for today. And with that, I will shut up and take any questions or move on. Yeah.
Especially through all of the colors, I think that was my first question to Claire. Happy I'd be interested in joining and serving. Maybe that's what it is. And
Well, don't get me started on the committee, No, they're wonderful. It's a good group, a very good group.
I had a question, Jackson. How long have you been director?
It's been about 15 years as the director.
Good job. That's great. I mean, I think that's one of the contributions to this organization is having good leadership and having sustained leadership. So I actually do mean that's really great that you're in that position. Who do we have? Eric, yes.
Okay, you discussed personnel, which really interested me that you were indicating you have about a 25% turnover on a yearly basis. I would guess that turnover comes from the lower echelons rather than the upper echelons. And that what I have seen coming to these meetings for the couple of short years I've been here, those faces don't change over there. And so you are having people come in, some stay a while, some stay longer, but you also have a turnover with that. Is there any thought of how to change that around a little bit?
Well, I'm gonna just say how I think and what I believe. I personally believe more often than not, the majority of the time, people leave for money. We're not the most competitive. We're more competitive than we used to be. We do get more applicants for jobs, but a lot of people tell us when they leave, I hate to leave this position or hate to leave this place, but I gotta make money to support my family, and down the road they're paying more. If I go to this industry or change, and in good economic times and employment opportunities, we lose probably more than when things get a little tougher. So that's probably the biggest issue. I don't think it's the lower people are mistreated or abused. Well, some of them are, but just out of necessity, But I think it's probably the lion's share of the exits. I mean, of course, and we do have a fair amount of retirements over the years too. So some of those longtime people just been here long enough. It's time to move on and go start a new chapter, which we're happy for. But I mean, I just looked in here and I always use poor Jim Doyle in the back as one of my examples. 48 years, is that correct, Jim? 49. Can you imagine that?
And you have a street.
And I'm not even 49 years old, Well, maybe.
Speak well.
But, again, like you said, all these faces have been around for a while, and we're fortunate that, especially in our senior ranks or whatnot, we've had a very fortunate long tenure with many, many people. And it's more where, at the lower end in general, there's more labor market out there that pays better. And I think we lose people to that. We had, again, and I think the county's effort here, I already forget the date, but when we did the salary conversion a 2+ years ago, we made some headways in that. Like I said, we're seeing more people put in for our jobs, but we would like train one job I think of, with Steve over there in conveyance, utility maintenance worker 1. It's a entry-level position, and people would come into us and we'd train them to get an ADEQ certification that was required, and we'd train them to get their CDL license that they have to have. And then as soon as they now have a CDL license, and they're like, hey, they're paying for CDL truck drivers over here twice what you're paying, So we were just like training them for the rest of the needs in the community. And I think we've made, like I said, headways in that. And it's hard though, also we find, especially at the younger side of our employment, the county is part of the state retirement system, and we have a pension, which to me is starting to sound pretty nice, about now. But somebody knew a pension or retirement doesn't mean anything for them. I just need dollars per hour because I got car payment and rent payment, and getting married and all that stuff. So it's just that perspective, and surprisingly, we're able to do what we do and all that dynamic motion of our HR site. So
All right. Thank you very much. And just a reminder to everybody in the room that we have to speak pretty loudly to get through the speakers. So if you're speaking from the edges, try and.
Did I speak loud enough?
Yes,
Okay.
we are fine, apparently.
Uh,
All right. We have a communications and community relations update by Mark Evans, Director of Communications Office.
Take it away, Mark.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for inviting me this morning. I'm happy to provide an update on how the communications office has been supporting the regional wastewater district for the past year. Just as an aside, real quick, on the question about how long Jackson's been working for the county. As it turns out, Jackson is the longest serving director in the county right now. He has 15 years. We've had some turnover, and so he's the grand old man of the directors of the departments of county. And I'm sad to say that I'm number 2. I'm right behind him. So I'm going to share my screen here. I'm going to talk fast and go quickly because I know you got a long agenda, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I want to save some time if you have some questions. So assuming I can do this correctly. Okay. I should be sharing. Are you seeing a big welcome sign?
Yes,
Yep.
sir. We can see it.
Okay, great. So the communications office primarily serves the departments of the county. We help them achieve their goals and objectives, of course, through the course of the year. For whatever initiatives, programs, public outreach that they're trying to achieve. We also do what I call branding, which is making sure that people understand that their government is here to serve them, the outstanding people of the wastewater department and the Pima County, all the good work that we do, and that their money is well cared for, well spent, that we are an accountable, responsible, and ethical government. That's our county motto. We are Pima County, ARE. The primary tools that we use for communicating information, love it or hate it, social media is the primary way that we communicate. According to Pew Research, the Pew Research Center, about 90% or just under 90% of adult Americans use one method of social media. Our goal here is to try to create a diverse communications environment so that we meet people where they are. We don't try to force them to come to one specific channel. So we use, Facebook and Instagram and Nextdoor and YouTube and LinkedIn and all the various ways that people consume information in the 21st century. Other ways that we are sharing information, one of the biggest ways is the bill inserts that we do with wastewater. That is a little slip of good wastewater information that we send out with the people who still get their wastewater bills in the mail. It's still many, many thousands of people who still get a mailed bill. We also do a number of county newsletters. We write longer stories about what we're doing in the county in our PCFYI newsletter. We do an internal newsletter for the department. We do the pipeline, which goes out to all the employees. And then there's also another newsletter that goes out in the bills that's 3 times a year that we also do for the department. And then there's the occasional outreach. And then there are special campaigns or other, or other requests from the department. The 3 biggest requests that we got from the department this year was the increase in the fees and the emphasis on the sewer outreach subsidy program. So we did a pretty big push on that. I want to quickly go back to my talk about social media. most of the content we put on social media goes to the Pima County Public Works Facebook page, but we also put it on the main Pima County Facebook and Instagram pages as warranted. This isn't how it looks when you go into Facebook. This is me being logged into the system, but as you can see, we publish all kinds of things about the various public works programs, including wastewater. So here's the latest one that we did January 16th, and it was about SOS. Other stuff that we've done about SOS, this was back in the summer. Some of it's video, some of it's imagery, and some of it is just a text post like this one. Oh, that's the same one I just showed you. And then this one was interesting. PBS did a story about wastewater systems, I believe, or the Santa Cruz River, and a segment of it talked about the wastewater program, and so we also shared that on our social. And then going back to my presentation, one of the other pushes that Jackson wanted us to talk about was the plan to redevelop the road water treatment plan. You had a consultant who was developing that plan. There was a survey. There was information that you wanted to get from the public about what to do with that in public meetings, and we helped amplify that message through social media, through our newsletters, and through other means. So let's see here. Currently, what we've got going on, the excellent people at Wastewater, talking about people, Jackson, you guys do a fabulous job. You have, you're a national leader in, I believe, in wastewater management and finding ways to make use of the byproducts, all the cool stuff you do with the U of A, the stuff, working with Jeff Pravat and so forth. So we like to promote that. We want you guys to get all the props as possible. You've got the odor control program. Let me go to my website here. Let's see. So when we do newsletters, we put them on our newsroom on the Pima.gov page. And then here's that odor control story, that one that we did last year. We've also updated this recently, as you can see. So, and then we're continuing to post stuff on social media. So how much did we put on social media about wastewater? We did 200 posts last year about wastewater. That's about 4 a week. They vary in the different types of information. Some of that is also, as I refer to it, as branding. It's just, hey, wastewater is great. Did you know? Information along those lines. So here's the pipeline, as I mentioned. That is one of the ways that helps Jackson and the leadership over at Wastewater communicate with employees and other key stakeholders. I think there's a lot of excellent information in here. I've learned more about the business of wastewater reading the pipeline than I ever thought I would ever know about what goes down the toilet. So the grease campaign was one of the big pushes. That was the other campaign that we did a heavy push for. We were really happy with the results this year on the campaign. We asked for a goal. The goal was let's collect more grease than we did last year. And we did. We collected about 1,400 pounds more than we did the year before. So that was a heavy push. It was multi-channel, social media, streaming, YouTube video. I'll show you the after action report that we did on it here in a minute, just real quickly, so you can see the comprehensive nature of the campaign that we did. And so we were really happy with the results. We did it in English and Spanish. Let me show you the summary. So whenever we do paid campaigns, Jackson gave us a little bit of money and said, see what you can do with this. And we said, okay. So then we want to turn around and say, here's what we did with it. Here was the return on your investment. So this is the report that we sent to Jackson. I think we sent it to Jackson. I hope we sent it to Jackson. We start off with the audience and the campaign goals, right? And the campaign goal was let's do more. And so here we go. So we did 5,800 pounds of grease. This is a breakdown from all the locations of where it came from. And you can see the O'Reilly location was by far the biggest event. I'm not going to go through this whole report in detail. I'm just going to scroll through it quickly, so don't get too frustrated that I'm going too fast for you to read the content. I just want to show you how we're accountable to the department and the money that we spend. And they gave us a budget. This is what we had to spend. This is how we spent it. This is, some of the analytics for the website when we were driving people back to the website for more information. This is the social media ads. As you can see, we reached 800,000 people. Now that's not unique individuals, right? So it's 800,000 eyeballs saw it. Some of those may have been the same people over and over again. But you can see how effective social media can be at a very low cost. This is, again, some of the examples of the types of social media posts that we did. English and Spanish. We also did streaming ads. If you are someone who uses your iPad and plays video games or whatever on those iPads or whatever, and those interstitial ads that come up, you may have seen some of these ads that popped in. We did newspaper ads. Newspapers doesn't have a big ROI for us. We don't usually do a lot of news ads unless it's Green Valley. The good folks in Green Valley still like to read their newspaper, but for the most part, the Star is not it's too expensive for the return that we get. But here's some of the ads that we ran. We did radio spots. These are, if we click on these, it'll play the radio spots, English and Spanish. We did an outreach event at the La Gran Posada. That was very successful. Here's Justin Dillingham. He works for me. He is the primary communications support person for Wastewater. He's very familiar with your everything that you guys do over there, and he's the point of contact whenever you need communication services. You start with Justin. And this is some of the materials that we produced for the Grease campaign at that outreach event. Other outlets, newsletters. We got some earned media out of it, of course. We also still do old-fashioned press releases. Got the media to share on that. And then we do kind of an assessment of the overall campaign. And I will send this to Jeanette so that you have this to view if you're curious about it. So I think we had a very successful year. Let me figure out how to stop sharing here. And I will be able to take your questions.
I have a question. How many of us see this on social media? Are any of us hooked in? I think it'd be great for us to be hooked in if we aren't.
I will put the links to it. All you have to do is go to our social accounts and click follow, and you'll start seeing all of our content as it appears there. Now you got to interact with us, right? We don't control the algorithms, so engagement is the coin of the realm. So you got to like a post, you got to share a post, you got to comment on a post, and then what you're doing is telling the social media platform, hey, I like this content, please give me more of it. And then that's how it will end up in your social media feed fairly regularly.
Mark, when you're not a internal employee and you're just here on the board because you're on the outside, do we have access to the pipeline?
I don't know if we publish the pipeline publicly. I think we just put it on our intranet, and you would have to have a login to that. Jackson, do you know if we share the pipeline publicly? I don't
No, I
think so.
think, like you said, I think it's just on our intranet, and it was really targeted or geared towards our employees as one of our mechanisms of communications, and so it hasn't typically been disseminated outside of the county.
What we can do, though, for the members of the committee, if you're amenable, we can just send us your email. We'll add you to the distribution list.
I
And
would
we
like
can
that.
make sure you get it. Yeah.
I've fallen off over the years, and I just feel like I'm in a void and not knowing what's going on.
Any comments from Mark? Any questions?
Since he started his presentation indicating that he's the second longest tenured director in Pima County, that makes him a number 2, just so you know.
Yeah, but you try harder.
But thank you for hanging with us here, Mark. Very interesting and helpful information for the group. So thank you.
Yeah,
Sure.
very, very good. Thank you
Happy
very
to
much.
present. Thanks very much.
All right, we have Jaime Rivera's kind of give us a couple different presentations. One is the technical service and engineering division update, and then the 5-year plan review.
Go ahead, sit down. Amy, make yourself home.
Welcome. You know, I just want to say, if you guys
Should
could
be
just
able to-
sell shoes on your social media, I'm sure I'd see more of it.
You should be you, please. Yes. That's it.
All right, good morning, everybody. We'll try and make a quick presentation here on the Technical Services and Engineering Division, and we'll follow with that CIP update. For the 10 years. So,
Hey, I need to make sure they can all hear you because it is.
Nice and loud.
can you all hear me good? Hopefully, yes, good.
Okay, good.
All right, so here's a quick snapshot of what the division looks like. We have 122 personnel broken down into little boxes shown here. The biggest one being Trail with the lab, RWC group head by Max, who's here next to us. Then the next bigger group is the field engineering division, who's in charge of inspecting new construction, repairs, and also to locate using our blue stick group to mark locations of sewer lines out there before construction takes place to avoid conflicts. We also have smaller groups of modeling and metering that manage the flows, how much is going where, so we can have an idea of if we need to augment or if our flows are off kilter and we need to look for a stoppage or something along those lines. We also have a GIS mapping and record group who handles all our as-builds and assets in the GIS system. And the engineering division main utility group does all the reviews of new construction, development requests, verify capacity, coordinating closely with the treatment plants to make sure that where that new development is coming up, we're able to serve that new development. The administration group is, in the past few months, we went through the process of updating our rates. That was accomplished and finished. Now we're looking at smaller items like permit fees for smaller activities like new connections to a sewer line or a pipe or a manhole. And those were last updated in 2019. At the time, the prices were set artificially low because there were concerns about the economy at the time. This time around, we're basically showing what the actual cost is to do a pipe or manhole connection. And that's where we're heading and aiming to accomplish in the next revision, 2026. These slides, you probably have seen it before. It's bigger development out there. It's development this size is slow, so it takes a long time for it to build out. Continuous developing in the north is Cascada. It's kind of in the Thornydale, Twin Peaks, I-10 area. We have the Verano south of the airport, and we have the Bell Crossing development east of Pima County. The Cascada and Bell Crossing are underway. The Verano is probably going to start very soon since they're finalizing easements and coordination with state land for access and such. The Sahuarita, the new Sahuarita plant that we're aiming to build in the next few years is our biggest capital program in the past 5-10 years. It will replace the new facility, a 6 to 8 MGD facility, currently budgeted at $260 million, and the required interceptor that will tie the old Green Valley facility or the Green Valley facility to the new Sahuarita facility once it's completed. In the past couple of months, we've revised our budget amount. Our early planning number was based on kind of an industry average of $25 per gallon. That's kind of a guess, an educated guess of how much it would cost to fund a new facility. Now that we have our program manager on board, that's Kimley Horn, they went ahead and did a more thorough estimate of what it costs today to build this new facility and interceptor, and the revised numbers went up. And these are our target numbers for the program: $260 million for the facility and $80 million to install that interceptor tying the existing Green Valley facility to the new Sahuarita facility. Another big project that's currently underway is the Canoa Ranch interceptor. This interceptor will tie the Arivaca Junction Lagoon way south in Pima County to the Green Valley system that we just saw we were eventually tying up to the new facility. So this interceptor between Arivaca Junction and Canoa Ranch basically will tie everything southern Pima County all the way up to Green Valley, all the way up to Sahuarita once everything is in place. The first phase is currently going to the board in February that's the 13 million phase one. And right after that, we'll start looking at the second phase to finish up and connect the lagoon to the end point of the first phase, which is the rest area in I-19 heading south. This one is a little bit into the future. We're coordinating with the U of A in the Tech Park area to extend our SCI heading east toward Vail. And the first phase here shown in green is the one we're currently coordinating with the U of A. At this point, we have a 30% design that we funded, and we basically proved it was feasible to go that route. And that 30% was turned over to the U of A so they can continue managing the final design and the construction, where we will participate and contribute our incremental cost of installing this extension of the SEI. Little snapshot of our current program that we're about halfway through the year, 25-26. Our budget currently is $62.9 million. It's broken down in between treatment and conveyance, 39 for treatment, 33, 34, 23, 24 for conveyance. And then the next kind of an outlook in the next 5 to 7 years, we'll be focusing on the Sahuarita plant program. And that means that we have to start ramping up our budget for next year, starting in July 26. We're looking at $109 million budget, and that will kind of do the bell curve shape of the budget as we ramp up our cost of designing and installing that line and that program, and then kind of ramp down as we complete and accept that facility and put it into service. And with that, I think the next exhibit will be the 20-year.
Before we get to that, do we have any questions?
Sure. Any questions on that
Questions or thoughts on
previous
this,
slideshow?
on this first portion?
Matt and then Asia.
We have Matt and then Asia. So Matt, let's go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning. Thanks a lot, Jaime. Excuse me. Regarding the Sahuarita plant plans, and you noted Verano, excuse me, Verano growth. Is Verano far enough south to be in the basin for that plant, or is it too far north?
It's too high. It would be going uphill if we were to try and tie Verano to Sahuarita.
Yeah,
So it
okay.
not naturally it runs north.
Okay. And I'm having a bit of a senior moment, I think, but did we do like a comprehensive basin study in advance of, you know, when we started planning and talking about the Sahuarita plant?
Yes, Carola completed a basin study and it extended all the way south from Arivaca Junction to Green Valley to Sahuarita and east all the way to Corona de Tucson. So Sahuarita, the new facility, it in the long range plan, it's capable of accepting the flows from Corona de Tucson, and at that future time, potentially we could shut down Corona de Tucson and tie it to the Sahuarita and have just that facility handle all the way east to the southern Corona de Tucson area. So
Okay, so-
the answer is yes, we did that basin study.
So if I wanted to kind of refresh myself with some of the considerations that were covered, is that study available for review at this point?
It is, and we can, and we'll make a note to send it to you if there's no link in our website for it.
There probably is, but I just haven't looked for it, I guess. Okay, thanks again, Jaime.
Oh, you're welcome.
I just asked Jeanette if she would send a link to all of us.
Great,
And
thank
then
you.
Asia, do you have a comment or question?
Thanks, Claire. Yes. I just wanted to bring up, I know the CIP subcommittee report is later on the agenda, but since Jaime was presenting on that 5-year CIP, I'm wondering if you want to hear what the CIP committee discussed.
Do that now or after the CIP?
We're about to have the CIP plan. So I don't know, but do you feel that
Let's do it after the CIP plan, so you could say how the subcommittee reviewed and the actions.
Yeah, as part of this
okay,
topic.
yeah, let's
Yeah.
put it at the end of the next item.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay,
Thanks.
sounds good. All right.
Claire,
Mhm.
question.
Yes.
Maybe this will be covered later or study. I was curious with the interceptor from Arivaca Junction in Green Valley to Sahuarita.
Speak loud.
If there had been analysis, groundwater impact analysis for centralizing those wastewater flows to the Sahuarita and discharging downstream, there had been a groundwater impact study upstream.
Groundwater review of the Rebecca Junction area.
Just, well, there had been mention of the basin study. Does the basin study include, that interaction of outflows, discharge, recharge?
I think he's asking
Mhm.
if
I'm not 100% sure, but if I can take a note and follow up with that response to that.
Yeah, I'd be curious.
Sure.
your question is if, as we centralize and take it from the outskirts and don't have that water recycled in local areas,
Yes, thank you.
they're looking at Is that what you're
Yes.
concerned about? Yeah.
Kimberly may have a.
So Capital, the basin study that, Jaime mentioned, is different from the BOR basin study of a few years ago. And so this, internal report we have prepared by Corolla, right? It does not touch on what you are alluding to.
Okay.
And as far as I know, that BOR basin study of like, what was it, like 4 or 5 years ago at this point? Is the only one that touches on that. And so as far as I know, the consideration, I think we're driven by practicality and cost, and centralizing is obviously much more economical. But that consideration of like keeping flows where they're generated typically doesn't factor into our calculus.
However, we are having discussions about reuse in the southern Green Valley area and how water can get there and what's going to happen in reuse.
Yeah, I'm just thinking for 10, 20 years, a similar issue we're having here in the Tucson Basin of dewatering the headwater areas. And then how do we take that recycled water and put it back into those systems? So.
Yes, Eric.
Update you a little bit. The PUG for down in Green Valley, that group, Santa Cruz Users and Providers Group, has got a contract right now with the Bureau of Reclamation, and they are upgrading that work that was done 5 years ago to reassess and to look at possible locations for recharge to improve the sub-AMA for Green Valley. There is a geologic difference in the aquifer at about Pima Mine Road. And if you put water up north of the Pima Mine Road, it really doesn't help the southern side. And so there's been a push, and I will tell you, I'm part of the push, that we do all we can to recharge in that sub-AMA.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on to the next presentation, and then Asia, we'd love to hear more from you about your discussions. Yes. So we're gonna go into the 26-27 CIP 5-year review.
I'm gonna reshare this because for some reason it's not showing on our main screen. Let's do it again. Can you see the Excel? Okay, let's try it a different way. There we go. Let's do it. That's one showing. I don't know. It's being weird. Can everybody see that? You can see it, Matt? Okay, good to go.
So real quick, the spreadsheet I'm going to be showing, it's broken down by buckets and projects. And buckets kind of summarize multi-year efforts for particular areas. This first group here, you'll see it looks like a stair step. Stairs that type of budgeting look. It's the utility, and you would go all the way up here because we started in the bottom. Okay. Let me restart. Going down the list of projects, the first one here is the Corona del Tucson Capacity and Rehabilitation Project. And this 10-year look starts in July. So this is starting next fiscal year looking forward. And that project we're revising, upgrading rehabilitating the air distribution system in Coronado Tucson and doing some solar upgrades is going to be wrapping up next fiscal year. So this is a total of $7 million. The first half is being spent this year, and the remaining 3.1 will be wrapping up in the following fiscal year. Next one down is the treatment rehabilitation program. That's the job order contract bucket. Basically, every year we set aside $8 million to maintain, repair, rehabilitate treatment facilities, terrestrials, Coronado Tucson, all of the treatment facilities. And we know that annually $8 million will help us keep up with maintenance and repair, but we don't specifically know what's going to break or what will need repair or rehabilitation 2, 3, 4 years from now. So we set aside $8 million every year from here to going forward to address those. So those are what we call buckets, and we have similar buckets for treatment facilities. We just keep scrolling down. You'll see pump station facilities, pipeline repair, rehabilitation facilities, auto control facilities. So all of these stair-step type budget set-asides are for those unknown future repair, rehabilitation, maintenance projects.
Let me just say something, Simon, like,
Yep.
just work. So, and you always see like Harry showing treatment rehab, 1 year showing 5,999,000. Then there's $1,000 carried over. We always put that extra 1,000 in the carryover year because some projects, as they're closing up in the fiscal year, they do carry over. And if we don't budget some money in the following year, creates an administrative nightmare paperwork wise. So we just put a nominal amount there in case some of the dollars actually carry over to be spent at the beginning of the next fiscal year. So it's more of a administrative thing. It's not like, hey, we got $1,000 project planned for the next year in that topic. So it's just why they're that way.
Yeah, thank you, Jackson. So scrolling down to the individual standalone projects, we can start moving some of them. You'll see here that we have basically scratched out the Building 14 control operation renovations. That project is an improvement to the operation of the facility, but it's currently not a need in the sense that there's nothing broken that needs to be fixed, rehabilitated, or repaired.
It's a nice to have.
It's a nice to have. And because of the increases of the program, we're saying we can wait on that a little bit until we're wrapped up with the program, which is going to take the bulk of our funds in the coming years, and then go back and revise and tackle this one at a future time. The same thing with the building for primary clarifiers. This is a facility that was installed with the original facility plant basically in the 70s. It's old, it works, and it's getting to the point where we're investing annually a certain amount of effort and repairs and parts. So we are looking at basically rehabilitating or removing and replacing it with a new system. But at the time, we're keeping up with repairs. Annually, we budget aside a certain amount to maintain it. So we're pushing that new system out in the future years beyond the time when we're aiming to be completed by with the new facility being installed. So we're deferring some new systems and keeping up with maintenance and repair activities in the meantime to allow or make room for the increase of the budget needed for the facility and the interceptor to be installed. So you'll see some of those projects being pushed out into the future if we assess that it is safe to do so. If it was an emergency, by all means, we would be tackling it. But we feel comfortable that we can delay this and maintain the existing systems up to a point where we can tackle it in a more economical way in our budget. The next one down is the Tres Rios WRF emergency backup power. That's a grant funded new generator system that's going to be installed in Tres Rios. We have a design builder on board. Yep. We have a design builder on board. The design builder has completed the design and the order has been placed for a generator. So that will continue its way to completion. We're fronting the investment and then we get reimbursed by the grant. So that's why we have to budget for the full amount, even though the department is being reimbursed, I believe it's 90% of that cost. Next one down is a digester facility. It's a new facility, the third new digester. We installed two with under rump. The time is where our solids are, volumes are growing and large enough where we need a third digester. And this project will install a third circular tank in Tres Rios. We are just wrapping up the cultural resources clearances. The next step is to start excavation and installation of the tank footing and placing the order for the systems and complete the installation. That'll take, as you can see here, 3 years. So we'll be heavy into construction starting next year and the following, and then we'll be wrapping up in the year 28, 29.
Did you say the cultural resources?
Yes, sir. Just December, they finished and they're just waiting for their report. They cleared everything that was in that area. We're showing Anita Mux here, but really that project is being completed this year. So you'll see there's no budget because there's nothing forecasted for next year. That facility will start operation. Aircraft Class A includes the installation of a Honda system that's going to be wrapping up next year. The contractor Kiewit has already placed the order for the equipment. They're awaiting that delivery, and then after that, they'll start shifting that effort to installing it and starting it and putting it in operation. Next one down here is the wastewater treatment facility plan for Sahuarita, and that's how we're currently breaking down the cost of design, construction, and startup for the next 5 years. And the companion project, the Interceptor, follows right below it. And the Canoa Ranch extension that we were just showing in one of the slides is budgeted to be completed next fiscal year. And the following project here, the University of Arizona, is budgeted for next year, but it looks like design will be taking place this coming fiscal year with construction the following. So this will probably extend or split into the 2 following years. So we'll have another portion, a portion of this cost will probably shift to this future year. The next 3 projects are placeholders for rehabilitation of interceptors. And you are aware, previous presentations, we do a CCTV inspection of the whole sewer system every 10 years. But for interceptors, we do that same 100% inspection every 5 years. So we are keeping an eye on all the interceptors, but because the cost of repair on an interceptor is fairly large, we want to set aside a certain amount of money in case something pops up that we need to jump on it. Our latest CCTV inspection has identified some coatings repairs that we need to do, but they're not emergencies. We can monitor them, and if possible, we can usually, or sometimes we can do repairs without having to pump around that interceptor, which is very expensive. So what we're doing is we're pushing out this set of projects that are placeholders. We're monitoring our annual inspections of interceptors, and if something pops up, we'll have a job order contract funded by the jug or the bucket for pipe repairs and tackle that particular location. Because we do that inspection, basically constantly, we're inspecting CCTV in the system. We're comfortable pushing out those buckets and using our job order contract with the bucket for pipe repair to address any emergency that may pop up. And again, we're doing this to make room for the Sahuarita plant and interceptor that are coming up. Yeah, 5 buckets, I guess, for the major interceptors around the county. This next set is an auto control bucket. We set aside $500,000 every year to maintain, repair, rehabilitate the 20+ auto control facilities we have out in the county. Similar bucket for pump stations. We have 18+ pump stations in the county, and we set aside a certain amount every year to maintain them and repair them as needed. This is the bucket or the job order contract repair that was just mentioning regarding if there was a need to do an emergency repair on interceptor. This is where the funding would come from. This is able to fund smaller design and repair activities in pipelines around the county. It is a similar bucket for manhole rehabilitation. This smaller bucket is intended to reimburse other jurisdictions when they have to do sewer work for Department of Transportation project. For example, if there's a relocation of a sewer line needed for a new pavement storm drain installation, and we have to participate in that relocation, this is where the funding comes from to fund for those activities from other jurisdictions. And this last one is a placeholder for the last 5 years of our 10-year program. And we know with pretty good confidence what we'll do in the next 5 years, but we not 100% know what we're going to do in the 5 to 10-year period. So we do know that about $50 million per year is a dollar amount that addresses our infrastructure, aging, maintenance, repair, rehabilitation. So we start populating the 5 to 10-year program with projects we know that we are going to be doing. But we plug this number here. So the bottom line adds up to $50 million going forward. So we can have an idea of for budgeting purposes, what a 10-year program should look like funding wise. And with that, I think I can't take any questions that might come up around the program.
I have a quick question. As you went from last year's CIP plan to this year, as you move forward, have you seen an inflation issue where can you give us a feeling for how that's changed from what your expectations were a year ago?
So, and this is feedback from the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Concrete steel is up about, and many of these projects were budgeted during COVID, 2019, 2020, 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, concrete steel is up about 30%.
Wow.
Personnel paying for the workers to go out, it's going up also because it's harder to get them to come here to do something. It's a lot of work for chip plants up in North Phoenix. So most of the workers try to go up north where the big paying jobs are, and bringing them back here, well, we have to increase, or the contractor has to increase their wages so they can come back and work on her project. Then the other cost is time. Getting electrical equipment ordered, purchased is a risk in time and a risk in budgeting, in the sense we don't know for recent tariffs, for example, they may or may not be there. So all that risk is carried by the owner, us.
Right.
So the contractor is going to budget us a higher price, even if it's not a real price, because of the risk. And that's something we have to work with the contractors and engineers as we kind of fine tune the design and to try and lower it. So our target is that 260 is our budget, and we're going to work with them to make it come under that.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions, or maybe we'll have Asia talk about the CIP subcommittee? So Asia, there you are.
Hi, Claire. Hi, everyone. Thank you. Yes. Well, I was hoping to, I think we could still even ask questions if there are additional questions about the CIP, right under the CIP subcommittee report, if I give that. So the CIP subcommittee met on January 8th, and we discussed what's just been presented to the full committee, the regular buckets for major repairs and rehab that are the department has been doing for years. And I haven't, I have been on the committee for a shorter time than Jackson has been in charge of the department. So I know when I came on, Jackson was already there, but I've been here for a while, and I would say that each year, you know, there are improvements. I think even in the way that everything is summarized and presented to us, it's been more and more efficient and in terms of being able to review it. So I just wanted to say thank you for that to the staff of the department. And hopefully that's something that the full committee can see as well. So that it does really kind of highlight, I think, where the, you know, there's a good awareness the committee felt in terms of those regular projects. There are some uncertainties always with some of the development that's happening, but most of it seemed pretty well informed, so that the budgeting could be pretty much on target. They did have to make some of those big decisions about moving things out further in the tent. We're now seeing, as part of that whole process of things getting, I think, even more transparent for everyone, and that longer look, that 10-year CIP is there, so you can see some of the projects that if they were possible might happen in the next 5 years. But there is the one large project for Sahuarita that really is impacting the overall CIP budget. And then that was something that was further discussed, I think, with the Finance Committee, when the Finance Committee will give its report as well. But I did want to say that was really the only concern that the CIP subcommittee raised, and generally was endorsing the department's work on this CIP budget, and that Jaime would be here at the full committee to be able to present the budget and answer any specific questions that the full committee might have. And then I'm here too, you know, right now, if anyone on the subcommittee has something they want to bring up, or the full committee has any questions for me, or what we discussed at this CIP subcommittee.
Are there any questions? Thought-
I had an inflation question, but another question came up. And I just thought of, you mentioned the need for another biodigester, and because the amount of solids was increasing, is what's driving that? increase in solids.
Can I use a call to a friend and maybe help? Jeff can help me answer that.
Louder, Jeff. We can't hear.
And take one out of service. We're gonna put that there. So we're building another one to cover redundancies. So we'll put that in. Yeah, repair the older aging one.
Yes.
A quick question about the Saudi budget, and it's just this, I mean, when you're presenting the budget, they include, sorry, louder. The budgets include all of the other, costs, right? The costs of the program manager and the program,
This one,
project managers
yes.
that you're gonna be hiring as well.
Yep,
Right.
it's all inclusive.
only-
Mhm. Yep.
I just think that's a good point to clarify to the committee, that it's not
Yeah.
just the capital cost of building, but it's all of the labor of the engineers and program managers that are putting into this.
Correct, includes project management, design and construction.
It's a lot of money. That's my comment. It's a lot of money. We have Matt there, yes.
Yes, Asia, thanks for that report. And I guess I'm interested to know what the subcommittee's major concerns were and whether whether they've been resolved or not, or if we have lingering concerns about the Sahuarita plant.
Yeah, I think we did have concerns mainly because it is still an uncertainty. I think though that as was explained to us, and Jaime and Jackson could weigh in here too, that they think that they have captured hopefully the worst case kind of scenario in terms of the costs for Sahuarita. I think the intention is that they're planning to be able to come in under that budget. I hope that's still the case. Maybe Jaime or Jackson can confirm. For the full committee.
We're aiming to, that's our budget basically, and we're aiming to come in at that or under.
And
Budgeted.
thank you, Jaime. And I think that budget was informed by additional, design and estimate work that was done between the last budget that we saw and the latest, which is, up significantly, right? It's close to 100,000, maybe with the two major projects that are happening to bring on the Sahuarita plant. The committee definitely discussed that, and the fact that there would continue to be some uncertainty about that, even as we moved into I know the financial subcommittee will have a report as well. It was discussed there how, that might, how that plays into the rate structures, right? And what we would see in terms of future revenues. So we brought that up a little at CIP subcommittee, but obviously the two separate subcommittees are there. One looking at, like, does this look like an effective program, right? The capital improvements, and they're, appropriately laid out, and the costs are probably what the best at this point that the department could put together. That those are the things we talked about at CIP. We also talked about some of the projects that are getting moved out into that more the 10-year time frame, or sort of the department's wants, or things that they know need to happen but are not in emergency status. And Jaime described a little bit of that, I think, in this meeting too, that if some emergency does come up, they will be relying on the typical, or the other budgeted items for major repairs in the system that aren't designated for any specific project. And Jaime, maybe you could clarify that for the full committee.
Right, so it probably, for example, the pushing out the buckets for the interceptors that we have identified. And again, by doing that frequent CCTV inspection of the interceptors, we have a good idea of their condition and where the problem areas are. And we'll continue to monitor those problem areas. They're not broken or failing. There's when we know that it's going to have to be attended to in the near future. So we'll keep monitoring those areas. And if any one of them becomes an emergency, something out of the ordinary happen and it fails for some reason, we'll use our buckets. And that's the one, for example, the pipeline bucket, it's about $10 million we set aside every year to do maintenance, repair, rehabilitation of sewer lines. So we would use this funding source and redirect some of the monies that we would be using for scheduled work and use it to fund any particular emergency that may pop up.
And thank you, Jaime. And then finally, I think we did discuss a little bit the I think to Claire's point about asking about the increases of costs that the old normal, the CIP hovered around maybe 45,000, 45. Now it's more like 50 or above. And does that seem sufficient? And Jaime, maybe you can confirm that too, but it sounded like that aside from the Saurita, bringing on Saurita, that 55 is probably what we're looking at for the future.
Here. For HR, you're talking about the long-term leveling to $50 million.
Yes.
Yeah, basically that number is based on prior experience, I guess. If you account for prior years, $50 million has been a fairly consistent number that addresses maintenance, repair, rehabilitation, which if you add up all those buckets, they come up to about $22-25 million per year. And that's just maintaining our infrastructure. It's I don't know what the number is, but it's over $1 billion worth of infrastructure that we have to keep an eye on, maintain, and things break. And that's where we annually fund our repairs and maintenance. The other gap between that 50 is other projects that need to happen. For example, that delayed replacement of the primaries at Tres Rios. That is where that gap comes in, and to end up adding up to $50 million a year on average as a reasonable number to maintain and upgrade in some cases our old infrastructure when it's time to remove the old and put the new and keep working our system going forward.
Thanks again, Jaime. So those are the things, Matt, that I think the major focus of the committee. Does anyone on the subcommittee have anything to add?
Eric. Oh, Eric, yes.
Yeah, I've got some real concerns here regarding the Sahuarita plant. And I realize that other than the fine gentleman at the end of the table here, I'm probably the newest member on this committee. But I'm looking at it and saying, okay, Green Valley has not reached its total flow. It's not pushed, to a breaking point. Yes, the plant's 26 years old. I'm wondering if we even looked at the potential of modernizing in a smaller way the Green Valley plant and putting the Sahuarita plant out. I hate to put a number on it, but I'd say 10 years. I'm watching growth in the Sahuarita area, and most of the growth is being handled by and in Rancho Sahuarita, which has got its own waste treatment plant. And so they're not even affecting our flow at all. Of Corona del Tucson was a thought that they would tie into this program, but they're not. So I'm looking at 340 million. I realize there could be some engineering advantages done that would change that price. But I'm also seeing the effect it's going to have on the finances for the district. The department is got to have $340 million to pay for all of this. And what's it going to do to the ratepayers? And what's it going to do to the district? Because we're also constrained by what the county can do. And I have some major concerns. I've written a note to my chair of the finance committee, but I'm just not seeing the need to push this fast on this program. I would much rather see it studied a little more deeply and then moved on and make a determination how we should move on this. I realize I may be a voice in the wilderness, but I do think this needs careful consideration. I don't deny that in the past we had a push in development in Sahuarita, but that development right now is to the west of the Santa Cruz River, not to the east, where this plant would satisfy that need. I'm not sure that the adding Arivaca, Amato area to the flow, along with about 1,500 homes in the southern part of Green Valley, is really going to push the Green Valley plant to a breaking point. Those are some thoughts. I have more, but I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. Let me just comment on that. So first off, the Green Valley plant is already exceeding its treatment capacity. And when I say treatment, we have an oxidation ditch that makes high quality water. It's rated at 2 million gallons per day. We have a flow of about closer to 2.5 million in the winter, for sure 2.5, and in the summer it changes down a little bit, but we're over that capacity. The other 2.1 million gallon per day capacity that brings it to a total of 4.1 is lagoons. It's just ponds. And we've made a decision a long time ago that we're going to be out of the pond or lagoon business because it's such a low level of treatment. It doesn't really take water to a real beneficial use. And we're just fortunate, like Arivaca Junction is a lagoon down the road. And it's just fortunate it makes like a class C or whatever one of the lowest classes of water is. We just have a farmer rancher right next door that says, here, irrigate my fields of grass so my cattle and horses can graze in there. And that's a use that we're able to do. But when he decides to sell that, we're going to have to truck effluent or pipe it in. So we knew that that plant needed to go away, just like we got rid of the fairgrounds and Rito Vista. Those were our 3 lagoons. But we don't talk about, Green Valley because it has a wonderful, well, it's a 2002 vintage, facility. So it is over 20 plus years old. But the lagoons are a method of treating that is acceptable. But we know that if we were to stay at Green Valley, we'd have to build, another oxidation ditch or make it a treatment, as we're calling a real treatment facility. And so as opposed to trying to put lipstick on a pig on the 20-year-old plus plant and then build a new one, why not build one in a better place, spend that money in a better place where we can cover more of a service area without having to pump flow back up. So again, this isn't really like the agenda item to go into the detail, but your questions are excellent questions. And we should put it as an agenda item for the future to kind of go through the decision process or the understanding of why we did it. And, one other comment just to make, because I heard you say Corona is not going to flow there. Well, we took Corona out of the initial flow because Corona, I personally would like Corona to flow to a regional plant down where we have our current plans, but it's because it has a larger growth area to span, it's going to take longer. So we just took it out of the discussion, but over time that will fill in with growth and it's downhill. It makes sense to go to that plant. So It's just what kind of caused us to back off on the conversation, because there was other conversations, kind of like Catlow's question about water tables and stuff. Hey, should we leave the effluent where it was generated so that if they want to make it into drinking water or recharge or do something like that, it's in that vicinity? And so there was a lot of and we actually did a study or an evaluation, and the cost, we were trying to take into consideration if you took all the water down to the new facility in Sarita, all the effluent or all the sewage, and then made effluent and had to pump water back to Corona de Tucson, is that more expensive than running a smaller Corona plant and making water up there, to keep it in the geographic areas? And it was very close. So we said it's really a moot point to have the discussion, because Corona is out there a number of years. But personally, maybe I'm old school, but my general experience has been there is economies of scale, and having strategic regional plants probably makes more sense than having smaller satellite plants. But some of the initial evaluation, maybe the cost isn't that much different if it's beneficial. But we'll have time to look at that. Right now, the immediate ones is Jaime's basin study was Hervaca Junction. Yeah, that's, the Amado Lakewood area. Of course, Green Valley and Sahuarita. But Sarita's future growth is to the east, and whether they annex or whatever they do, but the growth will be to the east. And that will help fill in from Corona de Tucson way east all the way to the facility. And it makes sense to me ultimately to do it that way. But there will be plenty of time for further evaluations of the best scenario between water and wastewater and one water type of conversation. But that's a whole long conversation. And I think it's a great question and a great agenda item to better explain it for the committee's awareness. And you could still be right, but we think, based on the age of Green Valley and the investment needed there, and the fact that the other half of the facility is just dirt ponds, that's not really treatment the way we try to make a beneficial use of the water. So we think rather than making the investment there at Green Valley, let's make it a little further north where we cover more growth without having to put in pump stations and stuff. So I'm getting into having that conversation. Maybe it'll answer your questions and stuff.
I want to be aware of time, that we have about 20 minutes.
I shut up. I'm
or
sorry.
so. No, not you, but along those lines, I think it's a really good idea to have it in another meeting, because it's a longer conversation.
Yep.
And also I know that we have the finance report coming up, and you can speak to that. But let's stick with the agenda if you don't mind. Do we have any more comments here? And thank you, Eric, for your comments. Jeanette asks, did the CIP subcommittee vote on this?
To recommend it to the full
recommend it?
council?
Yes. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Remind me, Jeanette, I believe that
You
we
just say
made,
that.
we made that recommendation. Yes.
So the CIP subcommittee voted unanimously to recommend the CIP plan that Jaime just presented to the full RAC committee.
So, but we don't need to vote on it. There's no action item on the agenda. So it's just that they
Well,
have reviewed it and ready to pass it to us, correct?
yes, they were ready to pass it to us. Now the full committee would decide whether they wish to make a motion to vote to recommend the CIP plan to the Board of Supervisors.
At this meeting?
That would be good.
Oh, okay. Well, it would, yeah, it's not in the agenda. Can we,
Yes,
yes,
yes.
can we go ahead?
The action items are never in the
Oh,
agenda.
okay. Sorry.
That's okay.
All right. So given that, maybe we should have the CIP or the finance subcommittee report as it pertains to this item. To the rate, the discussion about rates from just so we have all the information before I'm sorry to take things out of the order, and Isai, I'm sorry that
It's coming
waiting.
And the financial subcommittee.
louder.
Financial subcommittee met on January 12th. And the main focus of that was that Art gave us a workbook spreadsheet review, just to remind us how that spreadsheet worked. Regarding the rate workbook, it's not going to come out for some time yet for us to review. So we pended when the financial subcommittee will meet again until we get notification that it's time and we can review that, or unless there's something else that comes up, you know, maybe from one of these RWRAC. But we're waiting for that recommendation, possibly in the end of February. We'll hear, but it could go into March, whatever. We did have a good beginning, I'll call it a beginning discussion about the Sahuarita budget and the effect of it going from 200 to $300 million, basis. Some of the discussion, certainly Eric brought up some of the points and he did email some of them on post, but and I'm glad, Eric, that you raised some of your concerns in the larger committee, because I think this is the better place to discuss a lot of the concerns that you wrote in that email to me. But we did have some discussions, and it wasn't that anybody was like fully upset or worried, I would say, about these. These are just topics that we are noted that will be raised when we get project. We talked about development and the time for the development, and to recoup some of that cost, because when will those users come online, and how would that delay of the development potentially affect the carrying of the budget, so to speak. We talked about let's see, the impacts on your fees, your rates overall. We just did a little rate increase. You've been really good at, pending rate increases since ROMP for a really good time. But will this have a larger impact on the county as a whole and need to go back for another rate increase? This is all speculative, just, concepts that we as a committee realize that we need to be aware of. The financial subcommittee, but you as a department, these are questions that will come most likely, if not in the larger committee, it will come to you from the board and from the public as we begin to have these. So other things, just the cost of service. Asia kind of alluded to that. There was a little discussion on how the cost of service can be justified to the larger county, noting that ROMP was a very large cost of service increase that certainly impacted the rates of your outlying facility users. And in the reverse, this is a specific outlying area that's going to impact the rest of the county. There's a little give and take there to be recognized as a concept. So bottom line is those were all beginning discussions. There were some concerns or just wanting more information requests, I guess, that began to be voiced. And I think the one thing that many of us on the committee agreed is that the effects of this on the rate workbook, on the rates in general, maybe even changing how we're presented the information so we can see this in how the data is presented to us, might be a good thing. But there may be needing some creativity on Art's and or others to show us how this is projected to affect the finances more than just a single budget number. I don't know. Sorry, that's a lot, but I'm trying to summarize.
I think that,
Bottom line, we're not meeting again though, specifically until the rate work.
so I think the takeaway is that we're waiting on that rate work, but that we are aware of the situation and are having discussions as well. So it sounds like we're all thinking about this. Now, I understand we need to vote to move this to recommendation to the Board of Supervisors, and this would be for this budget and the CIP budget, what's it called?
The 5-year plan.
5-year plan. And the Sahuarita portion of that is certainly not the whole thing. So just to be aware that most of this is the sort of more standard information that they produce every year to inform the board about their direction. And it's all changeable over time as these discussions move forward. So it is be my understanding that even though we have these large numbers for SARita in here, we're continuing to discuss this, and this is the forecast for what, given our current discussion, you are projecting. Would you say that's an adequate summary
Yeah, and
of that?
And so, we thought long and hard when we had the new latest updates of a $200 million Sarita
Mhm.
water reclamation facility that went to 260 and a 40 million Sarita interceptor project that went to 80. So from 240 total to 340 total, that is what we deemed as worst case looking at all this stuff. And we thought, okay, well, we have not done value engineering yet. We haven't even picked the design, that
Right.
we're going to have. So there's a lot of opportunity there, which we believe will drive that down. And then the other thing that's still $1 million question is how we build the facility. So let's just say we've decided an 8 million gallon per day facility. Well, maybe we would build 4 million right now and build another 4 million, sooner than we would normally, but it would push the money out and maybe not impact ratepayers. So that's why we needed to kind of look at the worst case on what it does to our financial model. And then it drives us to make other decisions and how important they are to see if we can keep it to not significantly change our user fees, our rates. But at least be aware if that was the worst case, this comes to fruition, this is what it's going to look like. Now, how do we improve upon that? And there's a lot of options that, we haven't even scratched the surface yet because we're just at the beginning. But rather than go into it blindly and say, yeah, just stick with our old 240 number. And then 2 years down the road, we start hitting reality. It's like, oh, shoot, all these other things in our plans we're going to have to start scrapping stuff, and so it's just the right way to go about it. But yeah, it kind of puts that shock and awe out there. But trust us that now, with finance's help of looking at those impacts, now we can make better decisions on how and what we build and when we build it and come up with, and value engineering is a powerful tool anymore. So we'll come up with the best scenario that I'm confident will be less than 340, but I can't tell you how much. So let's give it time.
So, great. So we're looking for a motion to recommend. How would you like to say this? Recommend,
Recommend.
Support for,
support for, because
you're not approving it.
we're not
Yeah,
approving.
You're just,
Okay.
you're just letting the board know that you support it and that you recommend they approve.
Thank you for the clarification. So we are looking for a motion to indicating that we as a committee support this 5-year CIP plan and send that support to the Board of Supervisors. So do I hear a motion along those lines?
Guess I'll make a motion.
Sort of what I said?
Exactly.
Okay.
It's a little long-winded, isn't it?
I'm trying to summarize it. It's kind of complicated. So basically that this board provides support for the 5-year CIP.
Mhm.
All right. So is there a second to that motion? Thank you.
I second.
Second,
Who was that?
didn't catch
Oh,
you.
Ellen,
Second.
gotcha.
Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, may I ask, call the question? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Hey,
Nay.
Okay.
Eric. But Eric, definitely going to talk about this more we'll
Absolutely.
continue to have a discussion.
and I
Definitely.
think it's important that I put it as a nay for me,
Do what you're.
because that represents my portion or my thoughts.
Yes, absolutely.
Every party has a Debbie Downer. We just needed to know.
You invited me and I'm still here.
Okay,
You
I-
don't put for the nose.
Don't get them going, man.
We can put it,
Okay, put that in.
you can say it right now,
Right.
what are you saying?
that we're gonna, Jackson's gonna do the discussion.
Oh, yeah. We'll do that in future agenda items. Okay, so the, we've done that. Now we're gonna go back and we're gonna try and buzz through this to the, financial.
We already
No,
did
no,
that.
we did that. We need to get the period 6 expense and revenue summary by
Isai.
Santana.
Isai? Ready?
Sorry
Good
for all
morning,
the
everyone.
confusion, guys.
Excellent. Give me a few seconds here and I get share my screen. Perfect. I think can everybody see my this the report, summary report?
Yes.
Excellent.
Okay.
Perfect. So for period 6, ending in December 31st, 2025, the total O&M expenses, the actuals were 47.9 million. Our projected forecast is 108.8 million, giving us a positive variance of 1.1. As we can continue, we can see the vacancy savings that we have on personnel that Jackson already spoke to earlier. Scrolling down here to the total O&M expenses, including the contrast, depreciation, and debt services, our actuals are 83.5 at this point, and we're projecting 174.5 million, and a total of variance of 2.1, 995,557. That's due to the debt service deficiencies that was paid off. Scrolling down to total revenue, actual so far is 93.1 million. Our projection is 203 with a variance of $1.3 million. And going down to the rating ratio, the budget is 1.32, and as this period 6, it's 1.38. So it's good trends.
Okay. So, thank you very much. I just want to comment on this ratio here, that we're doing really well, and that's a good sign. If we need to have some increases in our costs, that we planned ahead and have solid rating ratios at this point. And Matt, you had a question.
Yes, thank you. I'm looking at the supplies and services line, you say, and noticing the difference between the straight line forecast and the projected forecast, and that's like a $10 million difference there.
And the reason they want to know the gap, majority of that is we have encumbrances that we have, wastewater has set aside already for expenses that are coming down towards the end of the fiscal year. So we're taking those into consideration because the straight line does not take encumbrances into consideration. So wastewater has already set aside those funds for projects that are coming due.
So there's some amounts of supplies and services that are basically earmarked to be paid later in the
Correct.
year.
Yes. There's contracts that are the wastewater obtains. And so as we receiving those services or product, we are start to pay them. So, but we earmark them to make sure we have the funds to cover those.
So we're going to be spending, doing the math, like 35% more in the second half of the year than we spent in the first half of the year.
Correct. And that's how wastewater operates.
So we're not likely to be able to save any of that $10 million.
That's as we see at this point.
Yeah. Okay. So some time ago, we had talked about being able to see the final FY 25 numbers. Have they all been, has the dust settled on those, and are they in a position where we could see a final report on how the fiscal year ended?
Yes, actually, I'll make sure to ask Janet to add that for next RWAC meeting, and we'll present that as well.
Okay. Thank you.
My pleasure, Mr. Matt.
Great. Do you have any additional comments, Isai?
No, any other questions?
No? Okay. I'll go
Thank
on
you.
to the CWAC report. I attended the CWAC meeting on January 7th. At that meeting, there was a discussion about Colorado River updates as usual. And then we also had a presentation on the annual conservation report and also on the storm to shade program. So that was great. They're doing really wonderful things over there. There was a discussion on the rates and miscellaneous fees, and that is going back to CWAC in February for a vote. So that's where that is right now. And that was about it. It was a good meeting, but mainly diving into conservation and storm to shade programs. Thank you. Okay. And then just in the nick of time, we're going to be able to conclude. We have future agenda items, and Jeanette has informed me that there is room on the February agenda to talk about Sarita.
So we've been unable to schedule the DEI presentation. So we're just gonna fill in that spot with the Sarita discussion next month.
Very, very good. And so you'll
I'll take a look at his, Eric's questions.
Can
I'll
you
prepare for
do
it.
that? Yeah, and particular interest to use in the Green Valley.
Yeah, it's a good conversation to have, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like background studies that led up to service the development. It sounds like those decision making.
And the changes in the town of Sarita's decision regarding their area of service.
Outside of town, if I understood right, that they're gonna be taking theirs away, everything but Rancho Sarita, and the rest of what Sarita that was in the DMA is gonna be turned over to the county. Is that correct?
That's the current discussion and plan, but it's not finalized.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
That experience with that treatment plant, it was built by the developer and handed to the town. It was shown there's extra capacity that can serve outside of Rancho Sarita. They were fought by the developer saying, no, we don't want you to be able to serve that. So we actually be able to provide service around Sarita that previously we did not have jurisdiction over.
Yep. Yeah, we'll talk about that.
How that changes the development there.
And I'll bring in my dartboard we use to make decisions with.
All right.
I
Excellent.
thought it was a roulette wheel.
Excellent. Okay, well, that's great. I'm glad we'll be able to have a robust discussion. Are there any other suggestions for future agenda items? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to the call to the audience, the final call to the audience. And here they come. They're stampeding to the, no, never mind. All right, hearing none, I'll call for a motion to adjourn. Okay. And is there a second?
Second.
Got it.
And any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Great, we will adjourn. Thanks, everybody, for great discussion today. Sorry for the confusing agenda.
Thank you all.
Good job,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone. Yeah.
Oh, just a second, sir. Let me get this.
Good discussion today.
Yes. Okay, go ahead.